So now we're recording. So hello internet, welcome to the MindVector podcast. This is going to be our pilot episode. So this will be our introductory episode, and we're just going to explain a little bit about ourselves, talk about our perspective. So
Talk about who we are and why we're here.
yeah, exactly. So, and we thought that a good intro topic would be things that, or any type of ideology we were exposed to that kind of changed our way of looking at the world for better or the worse. So, it's a double-edged sword. So, what were you saying? I guess, I don't know, what would you say, like, help unplugged you in some degree?
Pretty much it was the 2016 election.
Yeah, I think that did it for a lot of people.
That was like a big awakening for me politically, because previously I didn't really give a shit about politics. So that kind of led me down a rabbit hole of finding the truth about just anything and everything. Just through that means of discovering who the fuck am I going to vote for.
Yeah, I know for me, like, I had a complete 180 politically. I would say that when I was younger, I pretty much kind of identified as politically apathetic, meaning I really didn't care. When I was younger, I think it's common for a lot of people. Like, you tend to kind of drift towards left-leaning ideas because they sound good. They sound like, emotionally charged and things like that. It's like, well, why should we have borders? Do we need money, Can we all just be nice and just live in the utopia? So, and
Yeah, it's more of the sexy stuff, like the things that people would be interested in, because I mean, politics is boring as it is, but I think the conservative side tends to be more on the practical end of things, of how the government should be run. And then I think the left side just tries to amp it up,
while
so they
saying
tend to cover.
that they don't like government, which is the odd thing because they tend to want to control things. And yeah, like you said, politics can be kind of boring. And I think after the 26,
Yeah, that's the thing, is politics is
26,
not really entertaining for the average Joe.
it is
So
now. It,
it is now.
After the 2016 election, things changed.
That's the
Politics
thing, is like it got interesting. It's like, whoa.
Yeah,
And
it's
got people's
absurd.
attention.
It's paradoxical, and it's funny lately. So it's a new form of entertainment, which all the people that are saying that they may run in the future, like, only imagining. Like, I know Kanye was talking about running after, I think, Trump's second term. And
I haven't heard of that, but that's funny.
yeah, I don't know if he's
But
actually
yeah,
going
I
to go through
mean,
with it, but I'm another person I heard, I think, that wanted to run was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And I don't know exactly too
The
much.
Rock is going to run for politics.
Yeah, he said he was thinking about it. So, trying to imagine the debate for that, like, it's something that should be on Netflix at this point.
Yeah, I think there were a bunch of them in California that did. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger obviously ended up being the governor, so
Yeah, celebrities going into politics. It's nothing new, but I guess
it's nothing new. Yeah.
as we've gotten older, we're getting to see it happen for us. Like, I know Reagan. Reagan was a movie star, I believe. So that's
Yeah,
an
he was an
example.
actor.
Yeah. So, and Trump, he's been on television for forever. So it makes sense they have the popularity and the funding to do some, to have some type of political sway. But
Yeah. It seems like if you're not a career politician, you're not there. You're seen as the outsider, right? So, and I know,
which has
I
been
feel like,
happening quite a bit in the Democratic platform now. Like, people like Yang and Tulsi Gabbard are kind of getting pushed to the edges. Like,
yeah, because they can't be controlled. And I was talking to Jason about this the other day. That the way they control one another is through blackmail. You know, if you're human and you have human impulses, they're gonna have dirt on you, and that's a big part of it. Is the whole
So,
Edward, what's his name, Jeffrey Epstein, who didn't hang himself, by the way. So I mean, that was his whole thing. Is like he was in it for himself, but he had so much dirt on everybody. He was filthy rich, and that's the whole incentive. That was the whole incentive to potentially whoever killed him because he couldn't be controlled.
did you see
I
the?
mean, he wasn't loyal to anybody.
There's a movie, not a movie. There's a video going around with the Epstein meme. Someone managed to get this older woman to do a voice down in Walmart, asking for a Mr. Clinton killed Epstein. So
A voice down in Walmart. What is
yeah,
that?
like a voice down over the PA system. So basically, this it is an old lady who she goes to work and goes home and do old lady things. She ends up getting caught up with this guy memeing her, so it was pretty funny. Will a Mr. Clinton killed Epstein please come to the front desk?
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's a pretty funny video. We'll post it in the description for anybody who hasn't seen it. We'll give a link to it.
Yes. Did you see the dog trainer guy, the one with the hero dog?
The hero
The,
dog, the one that they used on
yeah,
that
the
raid for ISIS or Islamic State,
yeah,
whatever they call themselves now.
yeah, that guy. He dropped it. He was like he was going on about the whole raid thing or the dog or
Oh,
something, and then at the end he was like, yeah, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
yeah, I
It was
remember.
smooth. It was smooth as hell.
That was
It was
yeah.
great.
People are just mentioning that into everything now. It's great. Like politics, it's changed now. It's entertainment to a large degree, and
It's such a shit show.
geopolitics is something I'm still kind of learning a bit about. When I know, at least me, when I was younger, I guess what kind of made my shift to well, I don't really like the terms left and right, but I'll use them for practicality's sake. I think that's another reason why people kind of shy away from politics is because the terminology is really confusing. Like left and right,
Hmm.
there's supposed to be these relative terms to describe how a culture's ideology shifts their values, like, what's going in one direction opposed to the other. And who knows like where that term originated. You can actually find it in different fields of thought other than politics. Like I was bored and browsing Wikipedia one night, and actually you can see it in spirituality too. Like for the people that are into like the occult and magica and all that, there's actually
I don't
like
know shit about that.
I don't either. I'm but I'm a pretty open-minded person, so I like to just kind of just see what people are thinking, even if I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I like to know about it, but I don't know. I don't know that I would dabble in none
Yeah,
of that.
don't get me wrong, I don't dabble. Like the
I'm
only
not trying
thing,
to open any portals into the underworld or nothing.
right? You end up chanting something, and before you know it, Hillary Clinton appears behind you. No one wants that. So,
Summoning some demons. I got enough of those.
right, yeah.
But yeah,
But
you were saying about the political spectrum.
oh well, to finish up the thought, like they even have what they call left hand magic and right hand magic. So that's kind of an interesting parallel to that way of thinking. Like throughout time, it's a practical way for people to kind of just have some type of terminology to show relative changes over the years or whatever. So the values their society has. But
That's
I
funny.
guess for me, the shift towards like the right is meaning that I value individualism and smaller government.
Yeah.
What kind of opened the door for that to a degree was Buddhism. I had a shift
Huh.
into dabbling into that and learning more about that, and it kind of actually, I feel like it gave me a more consistent way of looking at the world. So once I was kind of learning more about to be basically responsible for my own actions, because you know the left the left side, they generally they believe in something that they call in politics positive rights, meaning that a person they have the right to someone acting on their behalf, whereas the right believes in what they call negative rights, which means that you have the right to be left alone, which is where you get the whole, no steppy snake, don't tread on me, that type of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, you see that personal accountability echoed more on the right than the left.
Yeah,
Which is hard. It's fucking hard to look at yourself and be like, I'm a piece of shit. I need to change this about myself and then take action. I mean, it's one thing to think about it and internalize it and then make it the change. And then it's another thing to just totally ignore your own faults and then externalize it to the world and say, oh, the world needs to change to conform to me. That's more along the lines of the leftist
yeah.
thought process.
And what makes it even worse is now, since everybody's gotten so divided into identity politics where they're just a product of their own demographic, it's even worse because basically not every group tends to venture out from what is typical of their demographic when it comes to their political voting style or their view of the world. So
Yeah, well, we all like to group together for comfort, and then the ideas are spread and you get echo chambers and
yeah, which
hard to, it's hard to be an individual, like to isolate yourself from people.
yeah, it is
It's
because it's it's dangerous in a way because I mean you see this like in all forms of like people like human thinking that you don't want to really venture outside of the norm because you're on your own. It's like once you get away from the herd, you get
Yep.
picked off, and even when it comes to like your values, like if you don't think the same as everybody around you, it's like you said, it could trigger them to be more critical of you or whatever because it's easier to point the finger than to think, hey, maybe that person's onto something and maybe I should deal with this myself.
Yep.
But
And there's definitely correlation between competent and high IQ and conservative ideology. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is funny because the left tries to point the finger at the right for being low IQ.
yeah, and I, it's one of those things that I don't really feel like it's useful as far as like getting something across because you're basically just kind of slinging mud at one another.
Yeah.
So it's not one of those things that is really all that useful for conversations to devolve into. No, you're low IQ. No, you're high IQ. No, this group is overall lower IQ than this group or whatever. So, and I mean, it's interesting information, and it's actually pretty interesting because, at least as far as like the left's values, I think Jordan Peterson has spoken about that they want to invert the hierarchy, basically. So the only thing that really correlates when it comes to privilege, like, privilege isn't something really that exists. It's the only thing that you can really kind of point to that's kind of interesting is that privilege aligns with IQ. So that's one of those
Yeah,
things
but
that's
there's
like natural that you, for the most part, you can't change to a large degree. But that's not something that, it has to, it's not something that can be resolved by everybody breaking up into different tribes and warring with each other for, control of the government, basically.
yeah. Well, you have self-made privilege. If you come from a low income community and then you make something of yourself, you go into business, you build your own business and then you make your own privilege essentially by becoming successful. Nobody handed you that. Whereas I think there's the other side that people are entitled, that feel entitled to privilege. No one
Yeah,
owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything,
yeah, and
you know.
that's a more healthy and realistic way to look at the world because if you walk around with more of an entitled attitude, you're going to be very unhappy and pretty bitter after a while.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are. I mean, that's it. That's a root issue because people don't know how to take care of themselves. They don't know how to make anything of themselves. So there's that entitlement. But
Yeah,
like I said, you gotta take that hard look at what you're doing wrong because nobody's gonna give you anything. You're just gonna be more miserable for it,
yeah. Because I mean,
expecting it.
yeah, I guess for the left, they kind of see privilege as like a kind of a fate thing. Like just because you're this or that, you're gonna have like these advantages that determine that you're fated for success or failure. Which that's not the case. There's shades of gray, and it's like getting dealt a your genes are almost just like a controlled hand that you're dealt because depending on how your parents choose to select their mate or whatever. But
Yeah, we
it
don't have
doesn't.
any say in it, really.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have too much of a say as to how you come into the world, but once you're there, it's like, well, you got to figure it out. That's the game of life. But just because you didn't have this or that when you started off, it doesn't mean it's not something that's you know impossible to acquire. So, and I don't think using the state or the government to take from other people is actually the answer. I think it's
Yeah,
an
I
immoral
mean,
approach.
and it's not just I deserve this, the entitlement mentality, but you have okay, you got that mentality, and then you have the self improvement, which is like you look up to those people who have privilege, and you say, how can I build that for myself? You know, it's like you see it as inspiration to want to further yourself instead of tearing them down just because you don't have the privilege.
Yeah,
Those are the two separate mindsets. One's destructive, one is actually productive.
constructive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
constructive.
So yeah,
So,
that's that's I guess that type of that I'd say that would be kind of like something that was a big perspective shift for me because I remember when I was more of a because I think it's normal for people to basically be socialists when they're younger because it's the easiest thing to say and you listen to a lot of like leftists argue points and they kind of really can't really point to too much that's useful other than well I guess what I mean is they can't really offer like a valid complaint when it comes to something other than accusing another person of being hateful or something, and that doesn't really add up. And I kind of went through that when I was younger because I used to think that if we don't have the government do all this stuff for people, then they'll just die. That was a wrong way of
yeah.
looking at the world. It was just like, well, if we don't have like welfare, all these people they'll just evaporate. They won't figure out how to survive. But that's a pretty
Well, that's not how we got here, so
yeah, exactly. Like people were around before like a before welfare programs, so to say. So
that's the sad part about how good we have it now. Just as far as the timeline of human history, it's like we have it. This is like the best time to live in. I don't have to do anything. I can order everything online. I don't have to leave the house.
and it's making everybody
Okay.
miserable.
It's making everybody
Everybody
miserable.
lonely and miserable.
That's what I
People.
think about it. It's like I have kids. I'm like, I have to teach them how to do stuff for themselves
Yeah.
so they can either appreciate what's given to them or know how to take care of themselves when they grow up. Know how to do shit
Yeah, and that's important.
on the computer.
But like even then, like when it comes to like I guess like economic privileges, people would call it. That's kind of something that's changed. Like being poor in the United States is it's a pretty easy life compared to most of human history. Like
Yeah. You got
cell
people living in
phones.
the hood with fucking iPhone 11s and shit and
Yeah, so it's one of those things. And even then, like I guess like outside of like dealing with customer facing jobs, a lot of jobs have gotten so much easier due to just technology changing at the rate it has. So
oh,
it's not.
Technological advances.
Yeah, and even then, like automation, once that kicks in, you're gonna have like less less interfacing. Like people won't have to do those jobs where you have to interface with a angry customer to drive through. You won't have like um, clerks' lives in danger over a Popeye's chicken sandwich or something like that. It'll just be a robot there that can,
Ah,
be like yes or no. So
yeah. I mean, McDonald's already has those self-serve kiosks. So all they do is like slide the tray at you when it's ready.
yeah, and
Basically.
it's crazy because some people are actually protesting that type of thing. Like they refuse to shop at places that are automating, which
Yeah, because that gets rid of jobs.
yeah, but
It takes away several jobs at that store, wherever that store is.
yeah,
And
and
it's like,
it's
I'm not getting paid to check out my own groceries here. I'm not. Where's my check?
well, it may end up like coming back to the consumer in some way, like if it's easier, more practical. Because depending on your personality type, I know sometimes I don't actually want to hold conversation with somebody at the register, but
That's true.
it's like I
Yeah,
just want
that
to get
can
in
be
and out. It's
annoying.
like why can't you be a robot too? So,
Yeah, with those chatty Cathys at the register.
yeah,
You don't have to say anything. You just pretend you're deaf or something.
yeah. I just point to my ears and shake my head, like here, just take card and give me my bags.
Maybe
But
that's why some of those people like pretend they're on the phone
yeah, because
so
they don't
that
want to deal
nobody
with
will
people.
talk to them. Which I used to think that was rude, but now I'm like, that's pretty smart.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not in the mood to chat with people, yeah. I mean, no one's really entitled to anyone's attention. So,
Nope.
but
Nope.
kind of lost my train of thought. I was with the whole automation thing. That entire fear, it's not anything new. Like, I think like in Northwest Europe, I think in the 1800s or so, there was a group called the Luddites, and they basically, it was pretty much the same thing. They feared that machines were, going to take their jobs, as South Park would say. So they would go around and just destroy machinery at places to preserve jobs. But the machinery makes it easier. Like me and a friend were talking yesterday, and a while back, one of my coworkers told me that downtown and some places in Dallas, there's like restaurants where they actually have like a little remote control car that will deliver your food.
Huh.
So I've never been to the to any of that yet, but one of my coworkers said that he saw that he ordered something on his phone, and he was expecting like a person to show up, but instead it's just like this little bitty little ground drone or whatever coming with his lunch on it. So
Yeah, I think Amazon also is putting up those stores where you just shop and you pay as you go. Like, you don't even have to talk to anybody. You have to look at anybody. It's just you in the store shopping through your phone, and you're just putting stuff in your cart or whatever.
yeah,
And you're scanning it, and it's done. You walk in and you walk out. You get your stuff and you go.
yeah. I know a while back I heard Amazon was talking about using drones to deliver packages, which I don't know if that would be kind of cool, but at the same time, I hope people don't start just shooting at drones to see what prize they get.
Shoot a drone, get a prize.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the 21st century. Well, it's gonna be like a 2020 version of Duck Hunt. The old Super Nintendo game or Nintendo game where the dog would pop up with the duck. So it's gonna be somebody popping up with, I don't know, a cell phone or a hard drive or something they got out of the Amazon box.
Yeah,
So
all the gamers will have the advantage because they've got the shooting skills.
yeah, and all the
They got the aim. Where's my potato gun?
so yeah, technology's made things a lot better too. Like
So you're for it? You're for automation?
yeah, I really don't think that that's. I think that's something that it's inevitable regardless. Like even if we try to regulate things to prevent people from growing, I think people will just find a way. Because like let's say maybe some some company or something doesn't figure out, if an individual comes along and they figure out something that just works better, they're going to take advantage of it, or it'll spread and more people will use that instead. So and that's kind of another thing that kind of shifted me towards valuing smaller government, is because that competition makes, like, when the companies compete, it makes the quality of life better for the society. So
Yeah, it does. Capitalism, baby.
yeah, that works out pretty well. And when it comes to like automation, that's kind of why everything's so accessible, is because people kind of can choose when they want to work. Like, a lot of people quit their jobs and they started doing things like Uber or all these app employment things nowadays. So
Yeah, but aren't a lot of them. It's a second job for them. Like it's not a job that provides a sustaining wage. You can't really sustain yourself off of that.
yeah,
I mean,
well,
it's flexible. It is flexible, but I don't think it's quite there yet as far as a living wage.
well, I mean, it depends
We're
on
still
the
like in
quality.
between.
It depends on the quality of life you want,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're not gonna,
And
you're
who
not
the
gonna,
fuck is living beneath their means these days?
which I don't know.
I don't think.
I think it's not too bad to try to live as cheaply as you can, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, you're definitely not gonna be like doing Uber and then all of a sudden, show up with a $100,000 car or something to pick people up.
No.
But yeah, I know at one of the places I used to work, I know that when my supervisor was terminated, he ended up basically sustaining himself on just Uber for quite a while. So, and he said that he started making more money doing Uber than he did working there. So, for people that just like to be their own boss, it's a good
Yeah.
option.
But
It's all trade offs.
technically, that's not a automated job
Well, it's not, but I guess my point was
because
that, like,
the self-driving cars are going to knock him out of that gig.
well, that's another reason why I say there's no point in fearing automation, because the technology gets better and people get to have more say. Like, I think technological growth empowers the individual. So, yeah, like in that case, it
If
worked
they
out
know how
for
to use,
him.
yeah.
But the next step of automation is now it's just going to be a robot that can drive people around. So there'll be something that he has to figure out how to do.
Yeah, that's the thing is adaptability.
Yeah,
You got to adapt to make a living. If something takes your job away, a machine, you got to figure out what's next.
I got
That's what a lot of people had to do in the
got to build a firewall and keep the
in the
machines
tech
out.
age.
Just kidding.
Learn to code.
Yeah, and that's actually a good step, because some schools are actually doing that now. They're just kind of emphasizing more on teaching kids how to program, because that's what the future is going to be. A lot of those jobs are
Yep.
going to be in coding.
Yep.
But yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say that I would think that we should stop automation just to save jobs, because from like people that know much more about economics than I do, it just kind of changes things. Like, people just find ways around it. So in the short term, you may have something happen, but it doesn't really fix anything. Like, I've heard a story before that I don't know if it's still current, but I think in the state of New Jersey, it was required that gas stations have like someone there to pump their gas. Like, they tried to use the law to preserve that job. So now
Huh.
that's something that basically the customer's gonna have to pay for, because now they're required to keep somebody on staff instead of pumping your own gas.
Yep.
So
So
yeah,
job
those costs
protection.
always come back.
Mm. Yeah, I think Costco's prices are not because I just got a Costco membership, so I've been shopping there,
Oh
kind
yeah,
of kind of kind of looking at what the price differences are. If it's really worth it. I mean, it's convenient if you want to get like reduce your trips to the grocery store, you just get it all in bulk there. But I don't feel like the prices are that much different compared to where I usually shop.
I haven't been to Costco yet. I've been trying to.
It's like Sam's. It's like Sam's if you've ever been to Sam's.
Yeah, a long time ago when I was younger. My family, they had a membership, so I would go when I was like, I think younger than 10. But I haven't been recently in a long time. One store I've been trying out lately is Aldi's. I know because I
Yeah.
usually tend to shop at Walmart, and I noticed that Aldi's is actually a little cheaper when it comes to some things.
Huh.
So
Yeah, but so like I was saying about Costco is that they pay their employees well. Like that they take care of their employees. So they're not I don't really think they make that much as far as profit. But their work environment is really good. It's like one of the best companies to work for.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, and that's kind of one of those things that's happening now too. A lot of people don't really like their jobs, so they're trying to find other ways to make ends meet. And that's another reason why I think technology is going to help a lot of people with that. It's also creating like technology is kind of playing into how politics has changed things now. Like the government is always kind of striving to be the most legitimate source in everybody's mind of authenticity. So, somebody like Trump comes along and starts calling stuff with a slant fake news, and then things like YouTube, where almost anybody can be a journalist now because you don't have to worry about I forgot the body that regulates TV media. Was it the FCC or something? But
Yeah, I mean
you don't have to worry about.
individuals.
Yeah, everybody can just kind of report on stuff, and everybody has cameras now, so
Yep.
it's more accessible to figure out what the truth is, or more to a story or whatever.
Yeah, and people can just see the video and decide for themselves. They don't have to go to the mainstream media,
Yeah, so I would say that that's kind of
which is
that's a case
scripted.
of that's a case where technology has kind of opened up more jobs for people, opposed to making people lose them. They just had to adapt. So, and YouTube has gone kind of off the deep end with it because I remember a couple months back that YouTube said that they were going to change their search around, so you couldn't really find the same sources of news as easily if they weren't mainstream. The term that they used is they were going to prioritize displaying what they call authoritative sources. So,
Sounds like a sellout.
yeah, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I think that's something we're kind of in the probably the last golden age of the internet now because people are wanting to try and censor it because it's disoriented the culture in a way because people don't know exactly where they like they really don't know exactly where to put their faith when it comes to news now. Which
Oh, mainstream media is dying.
yeah,
It's fucking dying. It's dead.
yeah. So now that that's
Which
happened, go ahead.
that's what YouTube is trying to correct. Is like they don't want people figuring things out for themselves.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to give a throw a lifeline to dying mainstream media. Like, and most of the viewers for mainstream media, I think they're just probably old people. Probably people that are not just not as savvy when it comes to technology. So they really don't know anything other than turning on Channel 4 and seeing what's coming on, and whatever makes it to the news for them.
Yeah, well, you have to actually go and look for what you want to see. Whereas you just switch on TV, you just switch it on and change the channel, and it's there. It's coming at you. It's like just sit back and drink the Kool-Aid, I guess. it's
Pretty
it's a
much.
kind of a lazy, convenient way to get the news.
Yeah,
Whereas if
and
you're online, you have to go and you have to search, and there's more steps involved and stuff.
there's
So
a lot of flavors of Kool-Aid online. A lot of flavors.
all the flavors.
Yeah.
Pick your flavor.
Yeah, because if we just kind of go by what's on TV, it's only like it's a limited selection. Like, especially when it comes to news, you get people that'll watch the right's version of the truth all the time and the left's version of the truth all the time. So when you try to speak with each other, it's like if you're not into politics and you don't think about it at like maybe a base philosophical level, you really don't know. And that's kind of the thing about politics nowadays. It's become entertainment, it's important because you do need to know if if there's going to be a terrorist attack or something, like if some country is upset with us or vice versa. Yeah, I mean, that type of stuff is important. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff now is it's almost just mudslinging. Like, and I guess for me, that's kind of what kind of unplugged me from it a bit too, was to learn what values I had and what political system worked the most for it. So I kind of made that shift into Buddhism. Kind of opened the door a bit for me to get into the right's way of thinking a little more. So that kind of led me into libertarianism, which I think that's the most moral, basically most moral political outlook that I've seen, somewhere between minarchism and anarcho-capitalism. So even if
narco-capitalism,
anarcho-capitalism.
Oh, I was like narcos.
Narco-capitalism. We don't have we don't have currency. We just trade drugs. Just go to the store and you trade like a block of weed for a phone or something. Narco-capitalism.
I got some Adderall.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, do you have change for a kilo? It's like, yeah, well, I have a few opiates here.
Bartering. So anarcho-capitalism.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's like,
go ahead.
It's like if you're an independent-minded person and you're wanting your independence, you don't want anything to come in the way of you developing yourself. Like, you want that freedom. You want hands-off government.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, they really don't like the idea of what it means to be free because, there's great potential that come with it, but there's also like a lot of responsibility you got to keep into.
Oh yeah, you could fail. There's failure. It's the fear of failure that keeps people. I mean, yeah, it keeps them in their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So then you just want to build up your comfort zone. That's what we all are tempted towards, being comfortable. You got to be comfortable. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's where all the growth comes in. Once you go outside of your comfort zone and, you get a little bit better, you fail a lot and then slowly it becomes easier and easier. Or you just figure out that this isn't meant for you. You go do something else. So
that's another thing. Is like people don't want to try because they're afraid of failure.
Yeah.
But you can't develop yourself if you're not failing along the way. You can't learn to walk if you're afraid to take that step.
Yeah, definitely. Being able to make that first step is
that's how you get good at stuff.
Yep.
You've learned from your failures. But people are just too afraid to fail. Which is why it took us a while to start this podcast.
Yeah, that and trying to settle on a name. So it's pretty cool that we finally have one now.
Well, I had a little bit of choice paralysis there.
Yeah, I noticed.
Too many just pick one.
So I guess going back to the topic of, just ideas that revolutionized your way of looking at the world. How do you feel how do you feel about that in terms of, I guess, religion? Like, did you always have the same spiritual beliefs growing up, or?
I've always been kind of a contemplative person, even when I was a kid. Like, I remember when I first learned to write and stuff, I was, my mom, I think she punished me for something, and I was like bummed out. And I was just barely learning to write, and I wrote her a letter. I was like, "Do you love me? Yes or no?"
Check yes
Circle
or
one.
check no.
And then, like, she would beat me and stuff, and she was a pretty abusive mom. And I was just like, "Why did you even have me?" I was like 3.5 or 4. So I don't know. I've always been like the deep thinking type, and just real existential.
So you
Um,
never, I guess you did you ever believe in a god or any
well,
of the?
she was trying to join some kind of community because she immigrated from Mexico. So it was just her and my dad basically. There was no community to speak of. So she was trying to find something. And so uh, she was Catholic, and she kind of jumped around from church to church. She almost got sucked into the Jehovah's Witness cult, and then I think she kind of got a little skeeved by some of the stuff. So she just um, she backed away from that. But while she was in there, she would read Bible stories to me. So I kind of have a little bit of a
Aversion.
background there. And then I have the traditional nuclear family, mom and dad upbringing. So tradition. I'm more of a traditional thinker, and so but spirit. I've never really dived into too much uh, faith based stuff, and it's only been since I want to say about a month ago that I kind of turned towards the Bible just to see what's up, just to look see what's there for me,
See what's up. How you doing,
See,
Jesus?
just yeah. My dad is the spiritual type though. Like he didn't join a church or anything, but he anytime we would sit down to eat, he would always just stop and like take a second and bow and close his eyes. And like he wouldn't pray out loud, but you could tell he was praying. So he's always been that way. But that's about the extent of my exposure to religion.
Um,
There was a short period where I was going to church with my cousins on Sundays. We were going to one of the big local Christian churches. I'll tell you about it later because I'm not trying to promote it or anything.
okay.
They can find it for themselves. But it was a big one and it was real popular. And so I was going with her. But I think it was more of a repentance thing because we were getting into some shit on the weekends, going to the clubs and all kinds of shenanigans.
Doing stuff and
So
things.
Sunday morning, we're all hungover and just trying to get right with God or whatever. But that was, I don't know, that maybe lasted 6 months for me.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's another benefit of religion too is that it gives people a little bit of a culture to work around. So
Yeah, it gives them a sense of community, and it's wholesome. There's nothing when it's the right cult, I guess.
the right cult, yeah,
The
yeah.
right cult.
I mean, I
The
don't really
right.
like the word cult because I feel like it's kind of useless when you think about it. Like it's like basically ideologies fight for dominance, and whichever one doesn't make it to the top, the little ones just get called cults. So,
Yeah. Well, there are some cults. I
well,
mean,
yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, if you join a group that says, "Hey, you got to give us all of your money," when
Scientology.
Scientology or or socialism, just kidding. But yeah, if you join like some type of cult that says, "Hey, you have to give us all your money and you have to, I don't know, like massage our feet every Thursday or something weird like that," then yeah, you're probably not gonna gain too much out of that group. But whatever floats your boat, though.
Yeah, I was never into the whole uh
That was actually one of the first protests when I was young and dumb. I went to a Scientology protest when I was younger.
did you
Uh,
even know what you were protesting?
vaguely.
Vaguely.
Yeah, I was
You were just kind of going along with the crowd.
I was in my late teens, and I think around the time I think 4chan was doing like Scientology protests. So I ended up going to one with some friends. We
Was it one that was up north of where we lived?
yes, actually, yeah,
Yeah, because I remember there was a church there.
it
Jason told me
was.
about.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
there
it's
anymore.
gone. Yeah.
So yeah, we went and we wore the mask or whatever. And I mean, I guess my thinking at the time in my late teen mind, which very underdeveloped, was just basically I heard that I like psychology a lot, and I think that I guess the way I saw it then is I thought that they were preventing people from getting help because Scientology was very anti-psychology, which
Hmm.
to some degree I can kind of understand that now because the humanities, at least in the universities, they kind of taught with a slant now. So there's a lot of people that are actually cautious about sending their kids to learn things from schools because if it's outside of like science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, like the STEM route, then
It's ideology.
yeah, you're gonna be getting programmed rather than learning how to do something that's marketable or useful.
Yeah. Well, psychology started out
Good.
not science based at all.
Oh,
It was just observational. And then they try to legitimize it by implementing more scientific approaches to studying people. But I don't really think that it's, I mean, aside from conducting, studies and
yeah,
surveys and stuff like that, there's no real way to really measure. Well, I guess it's getting better with technology, as we say,
yeah. You
but
get to
there's
record stuff and
you're still
larger
relying on
sample
the
sizes and
accuracy of
stuff,
your instrument and the accuracy of the researcher.
and the subject,
And
because people can lie and you know
yeah,
there's actually people
yeah.
that'll
So
do that. They go to therapy just to mess with the therapist or whatever. So
it's still pretty fuzzy.
yeah, I mean,
And
we're a young species. We're still figuring it out, figuring ourselves out.
I got into a little bit of a debate. Not a debate. It was pretty one sided. I was just commenting my ass off on one of a. There's a psychology channel on YouTube that I watch, and I
Hmm.
was like, how is this supposed to help people? Like, it's psychology for me is just like hand holding. I mean, I get that there's legitimate, you know, uh, disorders that people need to sort out and stuff, and maybe get medication and talk therapy and trauma. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who just go to talk about the problems, and it's like, get a friend, just find, if you had friends to talk to, you wouldn't need to go to therapy. But I
Yeah,
think that the psychologist is also in on it because they get a kickback. They get that medical insurance money.
it's a messed up byproduct. Like the
So
worse the sicker our society gets, the more psychology is going to be booming. So,
yeah,
because
yeah.
the sad thing is, like most people, like a lot of people, they may not have friends close enough to talk about shit that's on their mind. Hopefully, that's not coming through too loud.
It is.
It is.
Well, I hear it.
Okay, well, it'll stop in a bit.
What is that?
I think some people next door, they're moving, so
Oh,
there may be thudding and plumbing and stuff going on up there. Who knows? But yeah, perfect timing.
we got some construction going on at MindVector Studios.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's sad because I guess a lot of people, they don't really have those connections. So in a way, you're like kind of paying your therapist just to be somebody that'll listen to your thoughts because they may not have people around that they feel safe enough to share their thoughts with, or that are willing to hear them or whatever. So it's kind of a
Yeah,
sad thing
and it's
that's
such an
happening now.
investment too. It's like if you go and you want to find a therapist that's good, you don't want one that's going to tell you everything you want to hear. Like that's not a good that's not a good sign.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
they try to keep that money train going. I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, the social sciences. That's. I mean, I think they're interesting. I think like there's a lot we can learn from them. It's just at the same time, they're still evolving. Well, I guess all science is always kind of changing and doesn't really mean anything. The more we try to understand things, that's always going to
Well,
be a growing process.
well, thinking about the medical community too, it's like doctors don't want to tell people how to get healthy because that's again kickbacks for them. There's no money in cures.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's
There's
pretty difficult too, is because a lot of people nowadays, they just want a quick fix and they think that there's some pill that's really gonna solve things for them. And yeah, I agree that if you're just in chaos, that the drugs will help you just stabilize a little. But if you don't do the footwork as far as your mind, then it's only so much that the chemical imbalance or whatever can help with. So, because the thoughts are where it all starts. Like the the thoughts that come out of your mind, that's gonna choose whatever emotions start to arise, and the emotions eventually will start choosing the actions. So, and it all starts with the thoughts in the mind, and then they vector out into reality. Just got a pun and a plug there for the podcast. That's kind of a stretch, but tried to make it work while I was thinking and talking.
I get you. I get you.
But yeah, it's true. So like, even if you do try to like numb out your feelings and stuff, if you're still just having bad thoughts all day and your perspective is whacked out, you're still gonna feel it in some way. It's gonna still find some way to the surface.
Yeah, but there's only so much you can do by just thinking your way out of something. You have to actually take some concrete action and steps, and then assess your progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying delude yourself
It's
by any
like,
means. It's important to be realistic and make sure your thoughts
yeah,
are.
set some goals, attack the goals, and then take pride in what you accomplished, and
Yeah,
then move on to the next thing. Don't let yourself stagnate.
yeah,
Keep it going, keep climbing that ladder,
yeah,
and then the depression will just be a distant memory.
yeah, exactly. Because
I mean, it may creep up every now and then, but then you know what to do to get yourself going.
yeah,
It's just getting that momentum
exactly. Like
is the fucking hard part.
once you learn how to fight that part of yourself, like it gets easier as you get older and more practice with it. Which, that's another
Yeah.
thing that's kind of sad now, is because so many kids are, suicide rates are going up, and people are all reporting that they have depression and anxiety. And I guess if I were to say that's what got me into Buddhism, was psychology. Because when I was younger, I was actually pretty religious. Like, I grew up in a single mother household, and my grandmother was super religious, which she didn't really know how to relay the good messages from it. It was just, don't do this or you go to hell. Don't do this, I'll beat you. So there was nothing really significant I got from Christianity at a young age, because, and I'm not bashing Christianity at all, because I used to be a believer in that faith. But I think it's like with any ideology. If you don't really focus on the values, the good, then it can be corrupted. If you have bad teachers that just kind of confuse people that are impressionable, it's no longer useful. And I guess at least when I got older, because when I was really young, my grandmother just had me terrified that I was going to go to hell all the time. Like, it was so bad to the point that eventually I had learned some idea. I don't know if it was a Jewish thing, or I don't even, like, all the denominations. I don't know which ones believe in it, which ones say no, we don't believe in that. But there was one belief that under the age of 13, your sins are just kind of tacked onto your parents or whatever. So, like, if you died before you were 13, you would just go to heaven because you were still a good soul or whatever. But I don't know. And then there's also some sects of Christianity that they just believe that, well, if you're not baptized, you go to purgatory. If you're not baptized, you go to hell, or yada yada. So it's all different kinds of, outcomes and beliefs there. So
My, yeah, my,
at least I guess to finish up the story, in my case though, I'd actually gotten so like brainwashed from my grandmother's bad interpretation of Christianity that I was so nervous when I was like 12. I'm like, oh no, if something happens to me now I can go to hell when I die. So,
better shape up. Better shape up.
well, it
Yeah,
didn't
I'm not
matter
baptized.
because we were Baptist, so the way she was teaching me was basically just because I wasn't baptized, no matter what I did, I was gonna go to hell anyway. So I'm like, well, shit.
Dang.
But as I got older, it made me want to learn more about it. So that kind of got me to learning more about different religions and different ways of thinking. And I I liked psychology as well too, which psychology and Buddhism they kind of crossed over because you know if you take all the like mystic and spiritual stuff, the cosmology out of it, you basically just kind of get a guideline to not be miserable. Things you can do here or there, and it helped me a lot when I was younger. So
Yeah, it's kind of a change in mindset. That's the common factor in all those, like any religion or any belief system. It's like you got to change your mindset.
yeah,
A big thing that helped me was finding what to be grateful for, even in like the shitty moments. It's like shift your attention to the shitty thing and find the thing to be grateful about. Hold on, the kid wants something.
okay,
What? But
okay.
yeah,
Open
just
the mic
shifting
back up.
your. Oh, okay.
Go ahead. I was just reopening everything. I kind of go ahead. We're still recording.
Okay. But yeah, just shifting your attention from the shitty thing in that moment to finding the thing to be grateful about. That was a big, huge thing for me, even here recently.
Yeah, and
Practice being grateful.
yeah, and Buddhism. I guess for me, like I think with Christianity, you had to kind of look more into metaphors to pull the values out. With Buddhism, I feel like it was taught in a way that's just more direct. Like it starts off the bat saying that hey, life is suffering, and you only suffer because you want stuff. So
Mm.
try to learn to chill if things don't go the way you want. and
Yeah, I feel like it's more simplistic, more direct,
yeah, it's a
to the
little
point.
harder to uh, to convolute. So um,
Yeah.
with
There's a whole lot of nuance in the narratives in the Bible and stuff like that.
yeah,
Kind of
but
have to draw out the message a little
yeah,
bit more.
and with Buddhism, learning about mindfulness, and psychology kind of adopts it too. Like in psychology, they call it metacognition.
Mm.
These are all kind of like different forms of mindfulness where you learn to monitor your thoughts and to actually have conversations and dialogues with whatever you're thinking. So if you're
Mm.
somebody that's prone to negative thinking, if you try to be honest and keep in touch with reality, you can kind of break apart some of the negativity. Like if you're somebody who thinks that man things never go right for me, if you really take that, if you really try to debate that idea, it's pretty easy to say, well, that's not true. Your lung hasn't collapsed while you were thinking that, did it? Because something's going right for you. So
Yeah.
if you kind of keep things in perspective, you learn that it's kind of harder to stay in that bad mind state once you start acquiring those skills. So, and that was something that I thought that Buddhism was a little bit more useful, at least for my temperament, my personality, to actually utilize, opposed to just you know closing my eyes and saying to the sky, "Man, I hope this works." So,
Mm.
but again, Christianity it has its own benefits too. It's just I guess whatever works for your personality style. So
Yeah, you just got to take the good from whatever it is that you're looking at. Take the good, just take the good out of it. But yeah, I had to do a lot of reality checks when I was in some of the darkest times. It's like, okay, no one's dying, no one's bleeding.
it's not the end of the
You got
world.
food in the fridge, and the heater works, and you're good in this moment. Or or if I was pissed off at Jason for something and he had no idea what the hell it was, but I was just in my own head, like being pissed. Like he doesn't know this is what you want. He can't read your fucking mind.
Right?
I had to talk to myself about it. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
and that always helps when you don't expect people to be mind readers.
hell
Because,
no, nobody's a mind reader. Nobody.
right, I know it's the people that's a problem a lot of people run into with relationships.
That's a big thing I had to fucking get over. It's like
You gotta say what you want and say
you
what you
have to
mean
state
and mean what you
your
say.
your needs. Yes, you have to ask. You can't just demand it. You have to frame it in a way that's like, hey, I need this. Can you do this for me? You have to humble yourself. And I don't think women are really brought up that way a lot of the times. At least I wasn't, and I feel like I see that a lot in other women, that they're not, they don't know how to ask for stuff in a
They're
way that's
just
like equal,
just
that you see
unhappy
the
and
other
demanding.
person as an equal. Yeah.
I feel bad. Fix it. Well, what's wrong? You should know. I'm like, okay.
Exactly. You know.
And before you know it, the guy's just like, I gotta go have a drink.
Yeah. He doesn't even know why. I feel like I need a drink all of a sudden. Yeah, it can be fucked up. You have to really figure it out. You know what you need, and then ask for it. And a lot of the time it's like they're not going to say no because they love you. It's not that big a deal. You just
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing too, because a lot of people think that loving somebody is enabling. So if they do say no, some people are kind of raised, or well, they end up just thinking that, oh no, they're not giving me absolutely everything I want. They don't love me, or they're saying something that hurts my ego. So it's it's a skill to cultivate appreciation in all forms of life, well, all domains of life, I should say. It takes time.
yeah, even the bad stuff.
Yep. So we are hitting the 1 hour mark for the podcast. Do you want to wrap it up now, or you want to keep going?
Wrap it up like a present.
Wrap
I'm
it
good
up.
to go. We can keep going.
Okay. We're
The
doing
kids are
live.
the kids are chilling, so I'll take what I can get. We can split it up too. We don't have to.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can start episode 2. We can
Yeah.
end this one here. Okay, so for everybody that did tune in, thanks for listening. And this has been our pilot. We will leave, I guess, more platform information in the descriptions wherever you find us. We're still kind of, setting up the infrastructure for ourselves here. So we'll leave some places for you guys to comment. If you guys have any questions, comments, or whatever, just leave them on the site. And we're eventually working on a Discord server that we'll have for people to come in and leave comments or Q&As for us. And we'll try to stay active in reading them and getting back to you guys. So
Yeah.
thanks.
Send us some funny, weird shit that you see online.
Yeah, so I guess if you guys want to comment, let us know. Like, how did the 2016 election, was that a enlightening moment for you, or did it change your perspective? Did it make you more hateful? Hopefully not. Or any type of if you want to share a time when you went through a huge change in perspective, we'd like to hear about it.
Yeah. Let us know what you think.
All right, thanks for tuning in.
Later.